Hello, jeweler. In this module, we're going to talk about a different way of thinking about money that most people don't use. First, we'll talk about the addicting properties of money, then why it's necessary to take a different approach to the world than everyone else, and finally, how is it that the rich become rich and how you can use these principles for yourself. Have you ever met someone who has an addiction to money? Have you ever met someone who would give away everything for the sake of chasing money? When you think of a person obsessed with money or with getting money, what comes to your mind? Turns out that the answers to these questions vary vastly from person to person. If I were to ask these questions to myself just 5 years ago, the answers that I would have given would have been much, much different than the answers that I would give today. In my mind, I had a conception of what it meant to be obsessed with money. I believed that people who were obsessed with money looked a certain way, talked a certain way, thought a certain way, and they thought about themselves and others in a certain way. But if you were to ask me these same questions now, everything would be completely different. And I've learned something over the past few years about what it means to be obsessed with money, what it means to chase money, that I hope to share with you today, which will help you the same way that it's helped me. Maybe you've heard the verse, "The love of money is the root of all evil." This is probably one of the most known Bible verses when it comes to talking about money. And truth be told, Jesus even talked about money more than any other subject. There's a lot about money in the Bible. But when I read that verse, "The love of money is the root of all evil," the way that I understood that is being rich is evil, and rich people have a love of money, or rich people are addicted to money. However, what I now realize, and I'm so glad that I do, is that that's not at all what the verse means. In fact, I was taking my own thoughts and beliefs and imposing them onto that verse and thinking, well, this means what I think it means. In reality, we can't love money. People do not love money. I've never personally met anyone, and I don't believe you have either, who has ever truly loved money. And I want you to think about what I mean by that. When we talk about being addicted to money or loving money, what are we really talking about? Do people dream about having piles of cash laying around? Sure they do. Do people dream about looking at their bank accounts and seeing so many zeros that it makes their head spin? Sure they do. But that's not the love of money. What is money? Money is simply a tool for getting more of what you want. The more of it you have, the more you can have of what you want. The less of it you have, the less you can have of what you want. In and of itself, a paper dollar is nothing more than that. It's a piece of paper, until it has the power to get you something else. If it can't get you something else, then it's worthless. The worth of money isn't determined by the money itself, but by the amount of whatever you want that you can get with it. Ultimately, when people love money, they're not loving paper. What they are loving is what that money has the potential to do for them. They are not loving money, they are loving what they want. And this is where it makes more sense. If a person is rich but uses their money to do good, then their love is not of money, it's of good. If a person is poor and uses his or her money to do good, then their love is of good. If a person is rich but uses their monetary power to do evil, then their love is of evil. And if a person is poor and uses their money to work evil, then they also love evil. The amount of money doesn't matter. Now, why am I getting into this morality lesson here? Because money is a fantastic indicator of what we want. And if you want the wrong thing, you will literally end up paying for it with your life. And here's what I mean. This is a story I've heard time and time again. Imagine you start a jewelry business. You had the intention of creating one-of-a-kind beautiful jewelry, and you imagined yourself years down the road, happy and healthy, spending lots of time with family and friends and being proud of your work. However, one day, someone wants to do business with you, but all they want is a watch battery. Now, because you're kind and it's really easy, you take in their watch and you change their battery and the person is on their way. Next thing you know, that person has told their friend about you and they come in too. You realize that people like having their watch batteries changed. And while it wasn't in your original plan, they are paying you something and you decide to put a sign outside that says, "We change watch batteries." Fast forward 25 years. You look back on the last few decades and wonder where all the time has gone. You wonder how things have gotten so out of hand. You wish you could spend more time with your friends and family, creating beautiful pieces of jewelry that you were proud of. But instead, you're looking at a Yelp review from a customer who says, "What a terrible service, charging $15 for a watch battery replacement. I've never been so insulted in my entire life. I'm never going to go here again." And you have another 60 hours of work to complete this week just to keep the lights on, because hiring the right person to take over has proven way more difficult than you could have imagined. Is this your story? It is the story of so many people who I talk to, and it breaks my heart, but also sheds a light on a very important lesson. Money is addicting. Scientists now know that once you get a hit of dopamine to your brain, that your brain literally creates new neural pathways which intensify over time with each new hit. This means that for someone who felt good driving fast in the car, the next time they want a hit of dopamine, they'll drive fast in the car, and even faster. It means that for someone who felt great after a workout, now the next time they want to feel great, their body will literally start to crave working out. The same thing happens with any drug you take. It explains why the pornography industry is so addicting, and also why a skilled jeweler is stuck changing watch batteries after 25 years of business. Once you get that little hit of dopamine, because you get paid for changing a watch battery, your brain is literally rewiring itself to seek out pleasure in the same way again. Once you feel a little bit of good from that little bit of money coming in from changing a watch battery, your body starts to become addicted to taking in more. You will seek out the same pathway again and again and again and again, and each time you do, you become more dependent on that pathway to give you pleasure. Even today, as healthy as I am, it is very difficult for me to stop eating when I'm full because I've rewired my brain to seek pleasure by overeating when I was younger. I know it sounds kind of far-fetched, but it's not. This is happening to you without you even being aware of it. Once you start to make money one way, it's very hard to say no to making money that same way again. And while it might feel good for a second, it's not going to serve you or your dreams in the long run. You will literally end up paying years and years and years of your life spending less and less time with your family and friends than you could have, simply because you said yes to making money one way and haven't said no since. What you wanted in the beginning wasn't the money, but the security that it brought you. It felt good knowing that you could have a fallback plan and could easily turn to watch batteries as something that people would buy from you. And now you can't say no because you're addicted to the security that it brings you, even though it's wreaked havoc on your dreams for 25 years. And don't let me be underdramatic. This is your life that we're talking about. This isn't just playing business for fun. If you let an addiction to money stop you from hitting your goals because you decided to say yes over and over again to things that dragged you in the wrong direction, then you will not hit your goals. You will not have any chance of breaking free from your current lifestyle in any meaningful way. Now when I think of people who are addicted to money, I think of those who would willingly give up years and years and years of their lives doing a job they hate just for the sake of a false sense of security. Don't become addicted to money. Instead, decide where you want to be in the future and do everything it takes to get there. This course is about much more than just teaching you how to market your jewelry. For many people, it is a new way of seeing things and a kick in the butt to take yourself seriously. I didn't get to buy my first house in Hawaii at the age of 27, being able to take more than 20 vacations a year by being addicted to money. I'm way more concerned with building deep, meaningful relationships with people, and I'm doing everything I can to ensure that that's possible. That's my addiction. Free time for my family and my friends, and money is simply a tool to give me more time with them. We'll have a whole section on mindset coming up, and it's so important that you don't skip that. It's much easier to just settle. Don't. So now that we know just how addicting money can be and why we need to keep our head on straight, why doesn't everyone think this way? Why do people allow their lives to go in a certain direction that they don't want it to go? And why doesn't anyone seem to have control over their finances? The view that most people have of the world is wrong. That can be demonstrated simply enough. If most people were successful at reaching their dreams, then their beliefs and values would naturally be correct. However, most people are not successful at reaching their dreams. Most people are addicted to money, and they stick with the job for a long time that they hate because they need their itch scratched, and they've had it scratched that way for years and years. Because of this, they are never in control of their finances. Their finances are in control of them. Remember the questions that I asked in the beginning of this video. Remember I would have answered those one way 5 years ago. Now I would answer them a totally different way. One of the biggest reasons for that is because I met and worked with so many millionaires who completely changed the way I thought about people. I realized that they don't think about the world or money or life the way that I did, and the way that most people do. And especially when I compared the way that they thought to the refugees and the gang members I've worked with, it was astonishing to see the differences. It's true. I've met some millionaires who are addicted to money. They are rich, but they're not wealthy. But I've met many, many more who are wealthy. They don't just have money, they're also satisfied with their lives. They're genuinely good people and they don't con anyone. If you want to be successful, you can't follow what most people think. If you do, you'll end up like most people. However, if you want to be unlike most people, you have to think different than everyone else. This is why we take a different view of the world than everyone else. Most people have a perception of debt, money, time, work, education, all these things that's keeping them from being successful. When you look at the world, what do you believe? What are your convictions that no one else has? Are you willing to stand out from most people and live your life differently? When you look out on the world, what do you think everyone else is wrong about? What are your theories about the way the world is going? Here are some examples that will show you the difference between how the poor think, how the middle class think, and how the rich think. So here's how the poor think. The perception of debt that the poor has is that credit allows me to buy things. Credit cards, consolidation loans, car payments, these supplement my income and help me enjoy my life today. If I want it now, I'm going to get it now. Their perception of time is abundant and I spend money like there's no tomorrow. Heck, I could be dead in 2 weeks and you can't take it with you. Their perception of education is I finished school when I graduated, that's it. Their perception of money is if you got it, flaunt it. Why would you save for a rainy day? I spend every dime I earn and most of my bills are paid on time. Isn't that being fiscally responsible? Their primary income source is whatever gig pays the most is what I'll do. I chase money. It's all about the green. Their primary wealth accelerator is casinos, lottery tickets, having active lawsuits against people, against insurance companies, and hoping that they're going to win big. Their perception of wealth is that whoever dies with the most toys wins, and that their equation for wealth is their income plus their debt. Their destination or goal in life is that they live for today, and I can't be bothered about tomorrow. Responsibility and control, they say when everything bad happens to me, the man is keeping me down, the system is against me, I'm a victim, it's someone else's fault. Their life perception is live today, hell with tomorrow. Life's too short to plan any further than 30 days out. You can't take it with you. You're only young once. Besides, you'll hit it big one day. Now, when you hear those phrases, I want you to think of anyone that you know, including yourself, who thinks that way, and then look at their lives. What you'll find is that if you or someone that you know thinks that way, more than likely, they're going to be poor and have no control over their money. So that was the poor. Now here's how the middle class thinks. Middle class, their perception of debt is this. Debt is evil. It must be religiously attacked, even if that means working overtime for the rest of my life. Time perception. My time is abundant, and I will gladly trade my time for more dollars. The more hours I can work, the more I can pay off my debt, and I can save my money for retirement at age 65. Their perception of education is more important because it helps me earn a bigger salary. Their money perception is money is scarce, and every dime and dollar must be accounted for and budgeted and rigorously saved. If I want to retire by age 65 with millions, I have to ensure I don't squander my hard-earned money. Their primary income source is normally a job. The primary way that they accelerate their wealth is compound interest, because if you invest $10 today, it'll be worth $300,000 in 50 years. And you use mutual funds and home appreciation and an employer's 401k. Their perception of wealth is work, save, interest. Work, save, interest. And repeat that for 40 years until you're 65, or if you're lucky and the markets return 12%, then maybe 55. And how to get wealth is job plus market investments. Their goal is a comfortable retirement in the twilight years. And when it comes to responsibility and control, it's my responsibility to provide for my family. Although for that plan to work, I have to rely on others, including Wall Street, my employer, my financial advisor, the government, and a good economy. And their perception of life is settle for less, give up on big dreams, save, live frugal, don't take unnecessary risks, and one day I'll retire with millions. Now, when you hear those phrases, I want you to think of anyone you know, including yourself, who thinks that way, and I want you to look at their lives. What you'll find is that if you know someone who does think this way, more than likely they're going to be in the middle class and feel stressed out most of the time when it comes to money or talking about money. One of the biggest reasons for this, and this is most of the jewelers that I work with, is how they trade their lives for money. If someone were to say, hey, I'll give you $6 or if you give me $6, I'll give you $1 back, then anyone would realize that was a terrible investment. Yet this is what most jewelers I know are doing. Week after week, they're breaking their backs and they give $6 and they only get $1 back. Except instead of dollars, it's days of their lives. Often they start their own businesses, and then because they're stressed or they get addicted to a certain way of making money, they end up working more and more and more. In the end, they end up spending 20 or 30 years of their lives, spending 6 days a week working just to get 1 day of decompressing back every single week. They trade 6 for 1 every week of their lives, and they think it's the only way. This is often referred to as a work-life balance, but usually there's no balance at all. The scale is completely tipped in favor of work. It's a terrible trade, but one that most people in the middle class and most jewelers, even mildly rich jewelers, take. But it's not the only way. I've helped my own mom to transition to a more sustainable business model where in the last 7 months, she's taken at least 10 vacations, has been able to quit taking appointments at 1 p.m. on Fridays, and where she can hang out with her grandkids, all while still having a thriving business that's making more than she ever has before. And she'll tell you, most of this came from a shift in how she thinks and applying that to her business. So here's how the wealthy think. Their perception of debt is useful because it allows me to build and grow my system. The perception of time is the most important asset that I have, far exceeding money. Their education perception is the moment you stop learning is the moment you stop growing. Constant expansion of knowledge and awareness is critical to my journey. How they think about money is everywhere and it's extremely abundant. Money is a reflection of how many lives I've touched. Money reflects the value that I've created. Their primary source of income is I earn income via my business systems and my investments. Their wealth accelerator is I make something from nothing. I give birth to assets and I make them valuable to the marketplace. Other times I take existing assets and add value to them. Their perception of wealth is build business systems for cash flow and asset valuation. And the way that they calculate their wealth is it's their net profit plus their assets. The way that they get value is the more people I help, the more rich I become, and I get more personal fulfillment. And their goal in life is a lifetime of passive income, either through business or investments. And when it comes to responsibility and control, life is what I make it. My financial plan is entirely my responsibility, and I choose how I react to my circumstances. And about life, my dreams are worth pursuing, no matter how outlandish, and I understand it will take time and money to make those dreams real. If some of those perceptions are totally new to you, then that's awesome. You've just been exposed to the way that every wealthy person that I know, which is someone who has control of their money and time, thinks. This is not how most of the world thinks, and it will be hard to change your thinking, but you can do it. Now, I want to focus on the biggest factor of this whole training, which is how the rich become rich. If you look back at the money perception of the wealthy, you'll see that something unique is happening. The rich see money as extremely abundant and believe that money is a reflection of how many lives they've touched. Money reflects the value that they've created for others. So let's reverse engineer this, right? How do the rich become rich? Well, if money is a reflection of the amount of lives that a person has touched and the value that they've created, then they got wealthy by touching lives and creating value. So how do they create value that touches people's lives? This is a huge lesson and it can't be skipped. If you get nothing from this video except for this one point, it will be worth it. And here it is. Solve other people's problems and they will solve your money problems. The world is full of problems waiting to be solved, or as I call them, opportunities. They're everywhere. There is an overabundant amount of unsolved problems, and there always will be. Because of this, there are always opportunities for people like you to figure out how to solve those problems. If you can solve those problems for someone, then they will gladly pay you for it. If you can solve the same problem for 1,000 people, then 1,000 people will gladly pay you for it. Solve other people's problems and they will solve your money problems. When you look at the world, do you see a place where you're at the mercy of others, or do you see a place full of people who have problems that they're just waiting for you to solve? That's why being addicted to money is so dangerous. If you chase money, it will always elude you. It's like sleep. If you try and chase sleep, you can never fall asleep. But if you chase solving problems for people, money will chase after you. This is how the world works. Those who solve the biggest problems for the biggest amount of people get rich the quickest. Those who chase money for money's sake and never offer any value to the world, they remain poor and they never have control over their lives. Remember the guy with the wet toilet paper? He solved no one's problem, and so he doesn't get rewarded any money. But what about the guy with the pill that gives you a beach body overnight? Yeah, that guy will be rewarded money. And this is what you do every time you pay anyone for anything. You're saying to them, you're solving my problem, here's your reward. And when you look at a product or a service and you think, that's so stupid, who would buy that? What you're really saying is, that's not solving my problem. I won't reward them. If you want money to chase you, then you have to chase solving problems for other people. And once money is chasing you, you can use it however you want to. Don't be addicted to money. Be addicted to serving others. And the better you serve others and solve their problems, the more money will chase you and you'll reach your life goals. Most people never realize financial success because they think about the world in the wrong way. You have to be different than most people if you want what most people don't have. No matter where you are, you can start right now thinking differently and acting differently.